Good morning, everyone. That's my daughter. I'm speaking today as a parent, really to other parents who have children in the Swedish school system. As a parent, I've noticed a pattern in my daughter's classwork and schoolwork, sort of about a lot of worrying about certain particular effects, particularly perhaps in ecological matters, worry about these effects, and a sort of urge for greater concern coming time and again. I feel that the pattern plays particularly to the attitudes of the political left, and that students, my daughter, gets the impression of teachers as a sort of core of worriers who are presenting a kind of official public attitude about issues and about how to strike certain postures and attitudes on public issues. The official worries dwell especially on environmental issues, running out of things, commons problems like global warming and ocean acidification, some poverty issues. Democracy and democratic are often used as sort of synonymous with goodness. And they're everywhere in the curriculum. It's not just in the social studies. They turn up even in the word problems in math. They're particularly prominent in the sciences, technology, and so on. And I feel, just as a parent, that my daughter is kind of engulfed. That's maybe a little bit dramatic, but fairly true, in these sort of official worries, as I'm calling them, and that she and other students are sort of trained into certain postures and attitudes, getting a sense of what is politically correct. So they're sort of being almost trained in political correctness, or PC. One concrete example, I could give many, but like she did a paper on bridges, and 41% had to do with different building materials that could be used in building bridges, and then the environmental impacts of those different materials. Just a great deal of, again, attention paid time and again to the sort of same issues. Last week, she told me they saw a documentary about plastics are bad for the environment. Now, this is not to deny or suggest that we shouldn't worry about real social problems and that social issues shouldn't be treated in the classwork. There are things, though, that I would hope students are told, that life is complex, that you really need to have understandings of how social life works, and in fact that understandings are multiple and that people disagree about them. Even experts disagree about them. And I think it'd be very good for students to hear that rather than get the sense that, officials and experts come up with the official understanding which they are to receive. As an economist, I'm particularly big on economic ideas about prices, profit and loss, competition, all that good stuff, how coordination happens through bottom-up decision-making, decentralized decision-making. How does Stockholm get fed? For the most part, it's through these sort of bottom-up decisions. Spontaneous order is a word that's associated with that idea of coordination coming from the bottom up, the invisible hand. Trade-offs are important. Students should know that you always face trade-offs. There's no magic bullets. Knowledge problems are very important. Once you get beyond your own personal or local affairs, you actually know very little about the things you're trying to affect. An important idea is that intentions are one thing and consequences and results are another. And in a complex world, they often do not go together. You can say you intend to do something, but you get very different consequences. The road to hell is paved with good intentions. And you need the understandings to get a sense of what are the most important things. Students are just presented with certain things as important to dwell on and worry about, but how is that importance arrived at? You need understandings, and I feel that frankly a lot of the official worries are not that important. That a lot of time is being spent on things that are less important than a lot of other things students could be learning. These public issues, environmental issues, are public policy issues to a great extent. They're about government rules for society. And we would hope that people who talk about those issues have some training in public policy, in understanding public policy. We would want people perhaps with training in political science, in political economy, in economics. And you have to ask, do teachers actually have much background or expertise in that? And I think the answer is often no. To talk a little bit about the teachers, certification is supposed to be followed, and most of the teachers are certified now. The certification is coupled with going to the teaching programs, and several sources have told me that they are very predominantly left in the faculty. I know a young woman, she's the daughter of a good friend of ours, who is becoming a teacher, and she is not on the left. And she tells me about her experience and what she says with her peers. So she and other sources assure me that, in fact, these programs are quite predominantly on the left. And I want you to think a little bit about that situation, about selection effects. Suppose a young woman is thinking of becoming a teacher and she's not on the left, but she knows that the programs are quite on the left, and that going through these programs is going to require a lot of engagement and dealing with the leftist outlook. She can anticipate that she will not enjoy the program, the years through the courses to become a teacher. She might be disfavored if people know that she doesn't really agree, or if she voices her disagreement. And she might expect that she's going to have to conform to the official view, the dominant view. And anticipating all that, she might figure, I won't become a teacher. I don't enter. She selects herself out of the teaching pool. And so when we have these effects, we can easily get uniformity in the profession, both of the students who go to these programs as well as in the faculty who run these programs. They select other people to join them, and they too discriminate against people who ideologically oppose them. This is a common phenomenon in academia, and it creates a problem of groupthink, where people are hanging around or surrounded with people who think like them. They don't hear opposing views, their ideas are not tested and challenged, and they just go on kind of with their formulas. They create false stereotypes of what the other side thinks or would say. And it's a serious problem, I feel, in many areas of government and academia. Let me turn quickly to the national curriculum. This is this 264-page document, English language version. And I looked how many times certain words appear. All those words, which I think can be quite important to understanding how society works, appear 0 times. Liberty 1, in the age of liberty. Market 1, innovation 1, entrepreneurship 2, industrial 4, price 8, trade 9, sustainability 24, sustainable development 57, ecological 44, and environment or environmental 197. So that's maybe a capsule summary of the emphasis. And I see how these topics and concerns are written into the criteria for my daughter's homeworks. Oh, you didn't say enough, you didn't regurgitate enough about the environment, so you get a B, not an A. Sustainability is used a lot, and you know, this is generally also in US academia, it's a buzzword that's popular there as well. In general, I don't think that people really explain what it is exactly to be sustained and why we should presuppose that that thing in particular should be sustained, what the costs or trade-offs of sustaining it are. These questions to make this idea of sustainability really meaningful are generally not seriously addressed And again, I think what you get are mere postures and attitudes, buzzwords. My daughter's attitude is I just tell them what they want to hear. I haven't turned her into a gladiator or anything. And she reports that generally students just tell teachers what they want to hear, or they believe what the teacher says because the teacher says it, and that there's really no critical thinking. Again, I think critical thinking could even be punished, questioning and so on. I think all of this arrangement can disserve the children. It could spoil their attitude toward learning. It could spoil their regard for their teachers, their regard for occupational competence and craftsmanship. That is to say, they see their teachers working hour after hour, day after day, week after week, and sort of all of this political posturing and so on getting into their performance in their job of teaching. And it could spoil their attitude towards public discourse, where they're kind of accustomed that to the experience that when you talk about public issues, it's just posturing, it's just attitudes and buzzwords, political correctness. And so they just kind of figure that none of that really makes any sense. Now, there's other stuff that students could be hearing and learning. These are some of the things that I would dwell on, perhaps, if it were my responsibility. I just wanted to show this to show that there is an opportunity cost to all of this time that gets spent on the official worries. Now, parents, you want your child to get good grades. We're all very anxious about this. We want our 8th graders to get into good, or 9th graders to get into good gymnasiums. We want them to go on and get into good colleges, to get good jobs, and so on. But we also want them to gain knowledge, to gain understanding, to develop character. And the great concern here is that getting good grades could, to some extent, actually conflict with these other 3 substantial things. Because if students are actually questioning and challenging their teachers, it might upset their getting good grades. If they think their own way, they might, in a way, be punished for it. So my advice is first to talk to your child about school, about all of these issues, about even the idea of political bias, political groupthink in the school system, and to expose your child to other viewpoints, particularly on the official worries, the topics that they dwell on